Hey guys, it's Katie at scrappinkaty.ctmh.com. And for the month of September, I am joining some girls for Scrap Timber and 30 Days of Sketches, where we will show you a sketch a day and also kind of like a technique or an additional thing to add to your sketch. Now, this particular one is for September 1st, and the additional technique is stitching. I have pulled out our 2016 Christmas card as well as some Christmas themed papers from the Holly and Ivy collection. And then I've got that sticker sheet that I will fill in some embellishments. Now, there was an element to the sketch which was a triangle in the background. I did play around with some pattern paper and cutting maybe like a faux Christmas tree to go behind our photo. But I really didn't like how that looked, so that didn't make the cut. Right here, I'm just cutting that fawn pattern paper, isn't it adorable, to a pennant, much like the sketch. And then that striped piece of paper is a little bit longer than I wanted it, so I'm also going to trim that down about 1.5 or 2 inches. And then for the most part, those two elements are in place, and I'm really liking how that's going to look with our Christmas card on top. Now for the background of the page, it's just a little bit too dark. So I'm just taking regular paint. Since this isn't a photo, it's printed on that Christmas card paper. I don't have a problem with using paint instead of like gesso or something like that. And I'm just taking a foam paintbrush to kind of cover the majority of this pattern paper to lighten it up just a bit. I felt that it was a little bit too dark for the photo or the card that I'm using as well. Now, of course, I let that dry off camera, and then for my stitching, I'm actually going to do some faux stitching. I do enjoy stitching with my sewing machine, but on this particular sketch, I just wanted to do some faux stitching with a stamp set that has several types of stitching. It's called embroidered borders, and I'll leave that link down below if you want to grab it. But it's really easy just to ink it up, and I'm using candy apple ink, which is a coordinating color with that striped pattern paper. And I didn't go all the way around, so I like the interest that that also does. So I am going to just start adhering these pieces down. And now there's not a whole lot of dimension on this layout, except for the layers. I will add some 3D foam behind my photo though to pop it up. And then like I often do, I like to add foam to my photo and then tuck some elements underneath it. And you'll see me do that here in just a second. So I'm going to get this adhered down. Now, it's centered left to right. I wish that paint went just a little bit past that red and white striped paper, but it doesn't, so I'm going to make it work. And then I had the idea of going ahead and tearing the top right and the bottom left corners to reveal that striped pattern as well. And that way I have it in 3 places. So I'm going to adhere this card down. It is on foam, and you'll see me here in just a second start tucking things underneath it. Now I'm going to pull out my sticker sheet and then my anti-static pouch to take off the sticky of these stickers that I'll be using. And that will just allow me to use 3D foam tape without them sticking to my layout once I put them in my memory protector. So for the title of my layout, I didn't really want to add a whole lot of extra title, but I did want to add the year. So I've pulled out our wood numbers, and I'm just going to pull out 2016. Now I could color these, I could do a whole bunch of things with these, but I'm really liking the natural look that these bring with that fawn pattern paper. And then I'm also going to be using our loose gems to put, there's some holly stickers. So I'm going to be using those for the centers of those hollies. So for these little strips, again, I'm going to pull out some 3D foam tape and add to the back. I've got that little strip of the hearts, and again, that's candy apple red. So it's going to pull that striped pattern color forward a little bit. And then I've got some other little sentiments. There is that harbor color, which is a real pretty blue. It's almost like a dark gray blue. And then we've got that green that I'm going to use up at the top left. top right. So we've got the together on the left and then happy hearts up at the top right. And I am going to take just a few of the candy apple heart stickers from the sticker sheet. I'm going to add 2 up there near the happy hearts. And then I was going to add another one, but then I figured this little strip of the 3 hearts kind of balances out those hearts up at the top right. So I'm just going to peel the backing off of this 3D foam tape and get these attached down. And then I am going to adhere those wooden numbers. Now, I prefer liquid glass, but your favorite liquid adhesive will work. And I just love that this liquid glass just attaches so well to the back of those numbers. And these wooden shapes also come in an alphabet as well as shapes. There's hearts, there's buttons, there's brackets. You'll see some brackets on, I believe, day 3 of this Scrap Timber 30 Days of Sketches. So you want to check back on that. And then again, I'll leave links to anything I have or that I've used that's still available down below. So I've got that date attached down. And then I am going to peel off the backing for this Happy Hearts. And then I like to add 3D foam tape underneath my pennant. I always like to kind of rough up the tails, but then by adding 3D foam tape, when I actually put it into my memory protector and into my album, it ensures that they just kind of stay roughed up and in place. So I'm going to get those done, and then for the most part, this layout is pretty much done. I'm going to pull that holly and start placing it, just kind of tucking it in underneath that photo. And this is what I was talking about earlier, that I usually like to use 3D foam tape on my photos, but then not go all the way to the edge. So it allows me to kind of tuck in pieces later in the embellishing process. So there were 2 kind of bigger clusters, and then this one's a smaller cluster or a smaller leaf. I'm trying to figure out where it's going to go. I am going to end up putting it on my anti-static pouch and then adding 3D foam tape here in just a second. So the centers of those hollies, those holly berries, I am going to just put some liquid glass down and then use those loose candy apple gems. And these gems are really fun. They don't really necessarily have a flat base to them, but they definitely have one side is a little flatter than the other. So I'm just going to pick some up with my tweezers and then place them. Now, these are cutest when you can just lay a whole bunch down and cluster them, or use them in any of our shaker elements. So, we have this shaker hearts and stars. We got all kinds of shapes. Or if you're used to making shaker cards, then these are wonderful to add to those elements. So I'm going to finish off that top holly and then add a few berries to that little bottom sprig. Now, again, I did have to apply some liquid glass off camera just to make sure it was still wet because this process took quite a while. So I'm just going to pick those up, and then once I'm done with that, I will bring in that piece of holly, that holly leaf that I've had on my anti-static pouch, add some 3D foam tape to the back of that, and then adhere it down, and then add some liquid glass to those holly berries, and then finish it off with the rest of those candy apple loose gems. I hope in the still photos here in a second you can see just the added bling that these gems add. Again, they're best for shaker elements, but they are super cute on things like these holly berries. So I am pretty much done with it. Here are some close-ups of the layout. Again, this is part of the 30 Days of September sketches, and we're calling it Scrap Timber because we do have those additional elements that you can add to the sketch. This one is stitching, and so I did that faux stitching all the way around. Here is a closer look at that faux stitching as well as those holly berries. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I will see you tomorrow with day 2, and I'll leave links down below to the products that I used, as well as the other girls who are playing along.